but it looks good. Are you excited about it?
I'm really excited about my youngest son, the watchmaker I was talking about. He
Mm-hmm.
his birthday, Jason Reitman, they did a special screening for me and him, and
Mm-hmm.
um, I love it. I love it. I think he did an amazing job.
Nice.
And I was really happy to because sometimes, no matter what I do, I'm going to try to, promote it because that's kind of part of the job.
Sure.
But it's nice to be able to say it and mean it.
Yeah.
I think it's a great film. The new cast is amazing, and I really felt because fans have been asking me for almost 40 years, when's the new Ghostbusters,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they'll really like this one.
Dystopia tonight.
Fuck out of town! Fucking treasonous pieces of shit!
Dystopia tonight.
Hey guys,
How you doing?
I'm good to be with you guys. Spend some time.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you coming on and doing this. I know you're super busy.
It's been a busy time, but it's all good. It's nice to sit down and be able to communicate. It's all good.
Yeah. Is it weird because it like I feel like did things kind of pick back up pretty quickly after like all the slump from COVID and stuff?
Yeah, it was funny because during COVID, I still worked.
Right.
The shows I was working on two shows. They both shut down for COVID.
Mm-hmm.
A series I do called Family Business and LA's Finest.
Right.
LA's Finest didn't go back after. Also, Grace and Frankie. I'm not sure what's
Mm-hmm.
happened with that, but and then I did a couple of films during that time. So it was kind of a weird time, but now things, yeah, I've been just jumping around a lot more than I normally care to. But it's all
Yeah,
good.
it's weird. It feels like the stuff that we kind of picked up during that time to keep busy or whatever we were trying to maintain and sustain, it got compiled with the stuff that we normally do when things
Right.
are not crazy. So it's
Right.
it's really weird. It's like now I've just got 10 times the work, which is great, but also little much.
Yeah.
um
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's all. Can you you're still doing the family business, which is by the way an amazing show. Absolutely love it. And I like that it's an original series, something that we've never seen before. Is there anything you can tell us about developing that process of that?
Well, I'd read the books by Carl Weber. It's a series of books. I think there are probably 7 or 8 books about this family,
Mm-hmm.
and I like the books. And then when he came to me and wanted to sort of get it out there, we started making a movie. But I know we always wanted to do a television show, so we went to BET and managed to get it, on the air. And I think the third season just came out, but it was something I wanted to do. I'm one of the exec producers on it, even though I don't do that much in that regard. But
Mm-hmm.
I know I was really instrumental in making it happen, getting it done, which is why I'm sure I have the title. But it also gave me a little influence in terms of if there was something I was really opposed to or something I didn't like, at least I had a voice at the table. So
Nice.
so it was a little bit different. Normally, I don't think about stuff like that, but I just thought this is one that's so kind of out there in a way that it could go in places that I didn't necessarily want to
Yeah.
want it to go. So it's a little, it's different for me.
Sure. And plus, I mean, you've got more control over an episodic thing than you do a movie, right? So it's not as like there's no really like time constraints where you're like, well, we only have this amount of time to get the film done. So I feel like there's probably more time to do the TV show.
Well, there's more time, and you're doing a number of episodes, so whatever you kind of commit to, you got to live with for a whole season. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like doing a movie. We did it, and there was some things, but it's over now, and it's in the can, and I can't change it. Was with the series, it's episode after episode after episode, and that makes a difference. So you kind of almost have to get things understood.
Right.
Otherwise, it becomes something, like I said, you have to live with, and then that makes work really hard.
You started out in TV, right?
Well, I started in theater. I did about 10 years of theater. I started acting in 67, 66, 67.
Hmm.
And I did, I think the first movie I did was in 1973, a movie called Lead Belly with Gordon Parks.
Okay.
And then started doing, came out to LA around 76. Started working, but I did several films. I was kind of doing a little bit of both during that time. I did a thing called Going Berserk with John Candy, a couple of,
Oh my God, yes.
Rudy Ray
Yeah.
Moore films, The
Mhm.
Human Tornado, and so I was working some TV stuff before and then I did the movie Space Hunter
All right.
that Peter Strauss was doing before the Ghostbuster stuff happened in the early '80s. But
Mhm.
so I've always managed to stay busy and somehow make a living since the mid '60s. So
I feel like Going Berserk became like a cult classic too. Was that fun working with Candy on that movie?
yeah, really. I always considered him a friend. It was really, it was really a lot of fun. It was really, we never did anything else together after that, but I'd run into him from time to time, and I really liked him a lot. I thought he was just really very, very special, very down to earth, and truly talented.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you
As a-
remember? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, as a kid, did you picture your life going in the direction that it took, or what was your dream as a child like growing up?
Well, I think I think I always wanted to be maybe a singer, because but I really never had the courage to sort of put it all out there. I grew up in this church, and so I was in the choir, but I just never really, I don't know, had the confidence. Acting became sort of a fallback in the sense that when I first got introduced to theater, I was writing. I was writing plays for a little theater group, Concept East in Detroit. And a lot of times the actors didn't show up, or there was a problem, and I'd sort of act reluctantly in a play. But I always it was always fun, and I didn't have to think about it. Was with the music, and I did some musicals along the way, but it was always just I was always afraid. I think it was always challenging. The writing was always work. Acting was like, okay, this is just something that it's a challenge in the sense that you're always trying to get it right,
Hmm.
but
Mhm.
it's still fun to do. And I don't think about it. I don't stress over it. It's just kind of what I do. So
Wow. So it just comes naturally to you.
yeah, and the writing was always stress. I'd wake up at night. It never got beyond work.
Yeah.
So
Because you had
Yeah.
started a community theater with you and your acting buddies, right? So you could put on plays and stuff in the early days.
yeah, we started a group called the Act. Well, we were with Concept East, and I established the Actors Ensemble, which was kind of set there for new playwrights who were doing some stuff in Detroit. And there was the Best Pocket Theater, which was an equity house. I got my equity card working there, and so it was just a lot of theater in Detroit at the time. I'm really sorry to see a lot of that stuff kind of disappear,
Right.
But during that time, there was a lot of work out there if you really wanted to, and I was really committed to one way or the other finding a way to feed my family. I got married really early at 19.
Wow.
Had a couple of kids, and then discovered theater. And then the marriage ended, so I had the responsibility of the kids,
Hmm.
and so it was always a need to keep working.
Was initially was your family cool with you going into the arts, or did they not understand it right away?
No, nobody understood, but my my ex-wife did. I mean, she was. I remember, I was always afraid to so totally commit to it because I'd heard actors. It's hard to make a living acting.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, you're broke already, so you're not going to lose any money. So you might as well do something you like to do.
It's a good point.
So that was kind of encouraging, but nobody else in my family. I mean, my grandmother raised me. She really too, she never really understood. I remember just before she passed, she was in the hospital. I was visiting her and had a movie with Linda Lavin coming on TV. And I was at the hospital. And I watched the movie with her, and the staff, the doctor. They were kind of filled the room up. We was watching this movie. And when it was over, I kind of, signed some autographs and feeling very good about myself. And when they left, she just said, "You're so disappointed." Just said, "That's nice, but when are you going to get a job?"
Oh my
Oh,
God.
So,
What a bummer.
Yeah, but she,
That's
and I realized it was just a whole, the idea of
Sure.
whatever you're doing, because I had kids.
Mhm.
So, for everybody, the responsible thing was to get just a job that was reliable, that you get a
Yeah.
paycheck, because acting, there's no guarantee you're going to eat or the rent's going to get paid. But
Yeah. And it always comes from a place of concern too. It's never like they just don't believe you can do it, but they're like, "Can you get something that's gonna make me feel better? Like you can, like,
right.
you have an income,
Yeah.
anything." Yeah, no, I know
Yeah,
that
no,
feeling.
and they try. I had an uncle who, God, I must have spent 4 hours one day with him trying to convince me to apply for a Greyhound bus driver. And he didn't get it. And I had to hurry up because I had to get to the theater because I had this play going, which is all important to me. And he was like, "No, but I know a guy, and if you just apply," and I'm like,
What's worse is like I've had those moments where like somebody does offer you something like that, and you have one bad gig or whatever, and you're like, maybe I should have taken the bus gig.
"Oh yeah."
You're like,
It's always
they might be right.
and they might be, I think because when the marriage ended, to my surprise, and the boys came to live with me, which I never knew that happened. I just assumed the mom takes the kids. But,
yeah, I would assume so too.
But I think that was the thing that kind of kept me motivated, because saying to a kid, "This is America, your dreams can come true, follow your passion," and yet if I couldn't do it, what does that say? So it was always that part of me that wanted to demonstrate through example that that it's possible. So but there were times when I just really did not know how the rent would get paid.
Wow.
And where, but it always worked out. But you'd hit that wall, and but they were, you look at a kid's face, and a kid, he comes to you and say, "Well, hey, dad, check this out," and he shows you a bike in a magazine. And it's really kind of cool. And then he asks for it, and you go, "Well, money's kind of tight." And then you see that disappointment, and then you got to get the bike.
Yep.
So they were, I think, the major motivators in my life.
Yeah, my mom was more like that for me. Like if I wanted something, she would go out of her way to get it, and my dad would be like, "We could probably steal that." You know what I mean? Like there was no. My dad's an interesting guy, but yeah, he would be like, "I'm sure that could come off the back of a truck." I'm from Brooklyn, so it was most of the stuff we had. I didn't know how we got it and why we had it and who was coming to take it back.
Right.
So I appreciate that when your kids showed you a bike that you were like, "Oh, all right, we'll make it work."
No dads, because I didn't have a dad, and so the whole idea of being a dad was sort of kind of discovery later. About maybe 3 years ago, my oldest son, through ancestry, found I had a brother and 2 sisters.
Wow.
I went to East St. Louis and I met them, and they were telling me stories of the guy who was my dad. And they were like, "You were really lucky, because this guy was just, he was nuts. So, you were far better off than we were." So,
oh my God. That's crazy. Yeah, it's funny. One of my best friends has got kids now, and my friends and I, we had weird, not the best experiences with our dads or whatever, but we always look at him and we're like, "Can you adopt us now?" Because he's always like he's just the best dude. Like his kids love video games. He's gotten them into like comic book, you know what I mean? Like he's just a great dad, and we're always like, "Man, can we go back in time and switch it up a bit?" It's always interesting. So do you remember like a point in time where like would you say like, because some actors will say like they feel like they got to a point where they made it when like they got their first agent or manager, you know what I mean, and they felt like they had somebody to fall back on. Is it that for you, or do you remember a specific moment when you were actually doing the work where you were like, "I think I got it"?
Well, there are times I think in the work that you kind of go, "Yeah, I hit this place, and that was really cool," but it's very short lived, because you're always sort of striving, And then when you really feel good, you go, well, maybe it wasn't that good because I don't have any awards for my jump. Nobody's jumping up and down, and the guy in the show who's really awful, he gets some award, and you got to go, maybe I don't get it,
Yeah.
But I kept waiting for a moment when I could say, yeah, okay, I've arrived. And I've never had that moment.
Really?
Oh no, I never had that moment when people
Wow.
would come up and say, "Oh, I saw you in this," and they maybe see something, but I'm like, really, because I'm just looking for a job. Yeah,
it's probably like what, like a combination.
But I'm good for now, but I'm still trying to.
Yeah.
So I never really had that, and Ghostbusters could have been that. But when the movie came out, it was just the opposite. Everything just dried up in a weird way. So
wow, that's unbelievable.
That was kind of hard to sort of reconcile because, I always thought if I was in a major movie that opened #1 at the box office, that would be it, and that wasn't it. It was just the opposite. It was one of the harder times. So I've never really been comfortable enough. I mean, I am now in the sense that we're pretty good. I think if I didn't work again, I could make it the rest of my life. I'd be okay.
Yeah.
But it took a long time to get to that.
It's so funny because one of my friends, we were all me and my friends, you're our favorite Ghostbuster. And then, but the other day, one of my friends pointed out that not only are you the favorite, but you're also the most relatable Ghostbuster, because you know what I mean? Like, you were the only guy in that situation who was like, kept it real and like, didn't like the most like identifiable. You know what I mean? You're like, no, that would be me in that situation, not the other crazy guys. You know what I mean? Like, they're working with different shit, capturing slime in a box. And you're just like, are we doing this? Or I gotta eat.
Right.
Like,
which is kind of different because in cinema, the black character in the show, it was always kind of hard to relate to him because he died in the first 10 minutes. But it was so it was a little different. And I would see a lot of kids of all persuasions saying, yeah, they really kind of related to Winston, even though they did an episode of Stranger Things, the TV series. And I guess I hadn't seen it, but there was an episode where they dressed up as Ghostbusters, and the black kid, they were saying, "You be Winston," and he was like, "Why I gotta be Winston? I don't want to be." I met him, and he was looking really sad. So he said, "Man, I'm really sorry." He said, "I didn't mean all that what I said, but it was written, and they had me say it." I'm like, it's okay.
Oh, that's so sad.
All right, she felt so bad about saying you didn't want to be Winston. I'm like, we're good.
That's really sweet that he was that aware of it. Like, oh my God, this is terrible. Oh man, yeah. How much did they let you guys kind of like do like some creative control over the character and stuff like that? Was it like a free flowing set, or I can't imagine it being strict, but I feel like there had to be some like improv there and stuff.
Yeah, it was kind of it was always fun. It was almost like family. It was like we were in the middle of this thing. It was a script, of course, written out, but then we do that, and then we go, okay, how do we, what we do a take that was kind of free, and Bill Murray or whoever would come up with, ideas or lines that, and it was always kind of loose, but it was like family for me because I was the outsider. I mean, Bill, Danny, Harold, Ivan, they had all worked together up in Canada and Saturday Night Live, and so they really kind of had this bond, but it was almost like family because they'd love each other intensely and then they'd hate each other intensely. I was like the cousin at the table and trying to be polite, but
yeah, it's always culture shock when those environments are around. Like, I feel like sometimes, people I know who are like outside of my own family don't understand how we're arguing 1 minute and then being like, are we still getting dinner later? No, or can you, because they don't understand that dynamic.
Yeah, no, but they were all cool in their own way. And Harold Ramis, he was always the guy who, would just sort of bring common sense and would break things down, and so he was kind of the glue that sort of held it all together when the tempers went wherever. But it was a different, it was a different kind of work experience. I felt the studio in their own way, didn't see Winston as really legitimate. I don't know, a part of the team. I think they wanted Winston to be there. I think what happened was, I'm told, they first had Eddie Murphy in mind, and
Right.
Eddie, his career was on a level that the other guys were. So it would have been a very different Winston. It would have been a different involvement. Once they didn't get Eddie and they brought me in, kind of this new guy, it's like, well, I think the studios felt, well, why are we giving him all these great lines? Let's use the other guys. So,
Wow.
But anyway, that it was a very, I appreciate it more now, 40 years later,
Sure.
than I did at the time. So.
Right.
So
was there any kind of awareness on set, like it was going to be a feeling of a big thing, or did you guys kind of walk away afterward and was like, yeah, it was great?
Well, yeah, I think we all, there was a feeling that it's going to be a hit, and the movie's going to be number one, and there was a lot of excitement around it. But in those days, a movie would come out, it'd be number one in the box office for maybe 2 weeks, and then the next thing would come, and then it would kind of disappear, and I got a lot of movies like that. They came out, they were big for a moment, and then they, disappeared. But and you no longer talk about them. But the thing about Ghostbusters, it was sort of number one most of that whole, summer. So it stayed there. That was unusual. But what really surprised me was 5 years after, I'd see guys, dressing up as Ghostbusters, and 10 years and 15 years, I run into people with tattoos on their body, and that was it never went away. It never was, that was a surprise. And I felt the studios didn't really catch on until later on. I think the fans sort of embraced it. And of course the cartoons came out.
Yeah.
And that helped, to keep it, but it just never went away. Even 20, 25, 30 years later, pretty much any place I go that if people know I'm there, somebody will show up in some kind of ectomobile. I've seen every imaginable ectomobile, from Volkswagens to, old cars that could barely run,
Right.
Only seen a couple of the really classic Cadillacs, but
that's great.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of but they're very proud of them. I remember going to one of the Ghostbuster guys. They invited me to dinner, and so I accept the invitation. His wife was there. They had an ectomobile, but when he went to the bathroom, the wife said, "Could you please talk to him? He got rid of our car and he got this and I can't drive it. I can't shop with it because people come around and they want to take pictures, and it's like he's really, and then he came back and she got really quiet and very, I'm like, it's amazing that people love the movie in that kind of way, and it's very humbling too. I went to buy a car, and the salesman said, we got this guy. He's a big fan of yours. He has a tattoo of you. And I have a tattoo of me. And he said, yeah. So he calls the guy in. He's this 50-something-year-old, 6'4" white guy, somebody you'd never think was in the comics or any of that stuff.
Right.
And they said, show Ernie your tattoo. And he pulls up his pant leg, and his whole calf was my face,
Wow.
And I thought, God. Wow, I was, I'm like, I want him to work on my car,
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I can't believe that they had that they didn't let you do the voice of Winston in the cartoon.
Well, it was kind of a weird thing. They called me about it, and they said, well, okay, we're doing this thing, but the director wants to meet with you. So of course you have the job, Ernie. So I'm like, okay, he just wants to meet, hear your voice or whatever. So I go there, and we're doing this, which I guess was an audition. I didn't realize it was an audition. And he stops. He said, stop. He says, and he starts to explain to me how Ernie Hudson did it in the movie. And I'm thinking, do you realize I'm Ernie Hudson, So,
oh my God.
But he was somehow disappointed. but the job was still mine, and I was working on some movie. It was like a few days and then I found out that he had cast Arsenio Hall, and I'm like, well, what happened? They said, well, of course we knew you wouldn't want to do it because you were busy, and so the studio gave me all this. But I think the director must have wanted Arsenio. I don't know really what happened.
Jesus.
But they said no, we do. Oh, we didn't. If we had known. And I'm like, well, I went into this friggin' reading. I mean, how would you not know?
Yeah.
But so it was always something that kind of I mean, I really like Arsenio, but
Sure.
I never understood what that was about. And,
Yeah.
There was a few things back in that time that was annoying, but
right.
And for me, being a single dad, I could have used that job. You know,
I was gonna say, yeah, you like Arsenio, but not when he's taking work from you. You know.
Yeah, I needed that job.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, Ghostbusters wasn't exactly a big payday, so yeah, but it was, you know, it was an interesting time.
Yeah. You have such a distinct voice, character presence, and I feel like they're like, you know, who's more Ernie Hudson than Ernie Hudson? Arsenio Hall.
Yeah, I'm like, really?
Yeah. And even as a kid, I remember watching that cartoon and getting annoyed that it wasn't the same dude. Like, cause, you know, a kid, I don't understand, but I knew that it wasn't you, and I knew that, it wasn't Bill Murray. It was Lorenzo Music. Dude, I was like, the guy that's doing, Venkman's voice sounds like Garfield. What is going on right now? It's the same dude. So
yeah, and I think, you know, the idea of Bill Murray or Dan Aykroyd or Harold Ramis doing the voice for a cartoon, that, you know, I get that they knew they wouldn't want, but why they threw me in that category, because I definitely needed the job. I mean, I definitely wanted to do it. So
you're like, I'm flattered, but also payday.
Yeah. And that first movie wasn't exactly a huge payday. I think Bill Murray's per diem was more than my salary. So, yeah. So Ghostbusters, it was an interesting, and I think people became aware, but it didn't like suddenly open up doors, and it wasn't career changing in any sense of the, you know.
Well, you've been in a ton before that too, right? So I feel like you'd been in a lot.
I mentioned Leviathan, but we don't have to talk about it. It's fine. It's one of my favorites. But
I had work, and I was doing. But I think after Ghostbusters came, and I couldn't get an audition, even with Columbia, that was the studio that produced Ghostbusters.
Wow.
So I did a lot of TV. That next year, I must have been on a different television show every week. And because I had work, and it was about 3 years after that I did Weeds with Nick Nolte.
Yeah,
I got that job, and then I did, I think, about 7 or 8 movies back to back. I mean, from one set to the next, and then Ghostbusters, the second Ghostbusters came out, and the same thing happened. Nothing. I mean, it was like I for God, I don't know, a year or whatever. It was like. It just was the opposite of what I expected with the show.
Wow, that is wild.
Yeah. So, but I've always, I never did voiceovers, you know, but I realized that, you know, I have the kids, I got to make a living. So, I got created, you know, you find a way, and it's all good.
Yeah. Is there any point where like you were like really gunning for a role that you like really wanted and didn't get, anything like that? You know what I mean? Like something that you were like, I was so close, and you just kind of passed on it, or something that you're not happy with?
Yeah, I think over the years, I mean, I don't know anything that really ended up being a big hit. There was a television show that Henry Winkler was one of the producers on, and it was called Ryan's 4. I think it was about 4 doctors, and it was early on in my career, and I really wanted to be a doctor on TV. I really wanted this job, and I went in. And I knew that I nailed it. And then my agent said, they really like you, but it was one person, Henry Winkler, wasn't convinced, so they want you to go back. So I went back the next day, and as I was going in to read, Henry was leaving. So, but I put it all out there, and then I got a call from my agent saying that I didn't get the job. and I was like really disappointed. She said, "Oh, but you got this a movie called Adventures in the Creep Zone,
Huh.
which actually turned out to be Space Hunter."
Oh, okay.
But I was like, okay,
I
it's but there are times when there are things sometimes come up and you kind of go, I wonder why I wasn't in the considered or whatever. But yeah, Soldier Story, right after Ghostbusters, they were casting that. I was really disappointed I couldn't get an audition and didn't quite understand because most of the cast was black. But yeah, it's all it's been an interesting sort of ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that like I whenever we talk to people on here and stuff like that, I always seem to have the same kind of thing where they're like they think they may have missed out on something, but also they at this point they don't care anymore.
Yeah,
they're like I think I did, but also it doesn't really matter because
it doesn't matter. Yeah,
yeah.
Money that you didn't make. About 10 years ago, I went through this bout with cancer, and
wow.
The cancer wasn't as bad as the doctor who did the surgery kind of botched things up and almost died. But the reason I bring that up is there's that moment when you realize that this could be it.
Right.
And then you got two choices. You can start begging like, oh God, please, or, or you just go, you know what, if this is it, then I guess everything has to be okay because I can't, whatever I didn't do. And after that, I always kind of felt that we're like, you know what, no matter what, I'm good. And if great things come, that'll be great. But if nothing, I'm happy with the life I've lived. And I've kind of made peace with that. And
nice.
So,
yeah. Do you like doing the television stuff more than maybe the movies, do you think? Now, like right now, because I know you got two that you're working on, basically TV shows.
Yeah.
But do you...
Well, I kind of like, working. I like doing it all,
Right.
Theater is a little harder because it's just hard it's such a commitment and the pay isn't very good. But television, it's a different sort of, especially if you're a regular on the series, and usually the money is in the long run better. But I love working on features because you can really kind of try to figure a character out, really be intense about it, and then it's over, and you don't have to go back again. So
you miss the high of kind of doing it in front of a live audience, though, like the theater aspect, like getting that instant feedback.
Yeah, the theater is. I mean, it's a whole other, just a whole other animal, and the audience is there. It's always that sort of panic. You look out there and you see. I was doing a play on Broadway about 10 years ago, and but it's kind of a dance. It's sort of it's almost like, I guess, walking a tightrope. At any moment you could just go blank and forget your lines, which would be but there's something about it that is very, very different. But I love film too. I did actually a movie with Nicolas Cage. We shot down in the Cayman Islands during the pandemic.
Nice.
And it's fun sort of because it's more intense, it's different kind of, it requires you be in the moment now, and you just don't have the time to sort of work with a character the way you do on TV. So I just like to work,
I'm pumped that you're in a movie coming out with Nicolas Cage because he seems like an intense, fun guy. Probably to know, I don't know, but his movies are great. Like they're interesting choices that he's come out with recently. I feel like he's just having a blast. So it's interesting.
Yeah, he's very, very different. A lot of fun to work with. Very interesting guy. We share this love of watches, so
nice. Oh, dude, I love watches.
He was telling about this watch. He said, he checked this watch out, man. And he showed me a picture of it, and he had gotten this watch. And I said, wow, this is really cool. So I just my son's a watchmaker, so I kind of went through all this stuff to find this watch, and I found the watch, and I said, I got the watch. And that look of disappointment on his face is like, Oh yeah, I think it's cool we have the same watch, but I'm like,
Oh.
so and I realized he wasn't telling me because for me to get the watch, he was showing me what he had, so
Oh,
but
can I
but
tell you how thrilled I am that you had that awkward experience? Because that would be me, not knowing what the other person really wanted in that moment, and then
Right,
I
yeah.
blew it.
Right, yeah. I mean, I expected to be excited, but it was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
He's like, great. Now I have to find a whole new watch that Ernie Hudson doesn't have.
But he was fun, and
Can you show it to me too so I can get it? Because I feel like just to spite him,
Right, I'd love to. Everywhere he goes, you'd see that watch. Everybody has it.
I think the goal should be after this episode is to get him to yell like he does in the movies in real life about watches. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and but I did a film in Vegas recently with Brian Cox and
Oh, nice.
Kate Beckinsale. So it's just nice to be working, but it's nice to not have to work in that same sense. When the kids were in college and when I had to pay the mortgage, it's nice to have that sort of. It's nice to do it for the fun of it now.
Yeah. For the craft aspect of it, when you started out, is there anybody that you remember that you kind of tried to emulate, or any acting coach or person that was out there that you were like, I got to be like that guy?
No, I think my ego was too big for that.
Beautiful.
I'm
That's
like,
great.
I'm the best guy on the planet, and it's like I'm so good. I am beyond good. You know what I mean? I just
right.
It was always kind of. But there were people I mean, James Earl Jones and, Burt Lancaster was always kind of, I did a play and the reviewer said I commanded the stage like a young Burt Lancaster that I really took. That was a compliment in my mind. But there were, and then when I came out to Hollywood, I got a chance to work, I did a TV movie with Betty Davis.
Oh, wow.
And Jackie Cooper was directing it, and so I would run into people who I grew up watching, and I was, that was really kind of cool. But yeah, I just, I don't know if there's anybody who I said, when I did Congo, there was Lost Horizon, Ronald Coleman. I always thought he was really kind of cool. I mean, this was like the coolest actor, And when I did the character in Congo, I was sort of doing a version of Ronald Coleman, even though it didn't come out quite that way. But in my mind, I was as cool as Ronald Coleman. So, but normally, no, it's I don't think of anybody that I kind
Sometimes that's all you need, though, too, is to have somebody that you're doing in the back of your head to get you through a thing.
Oh yeah. No, that you do your own spin on it, and but it was it's
I always admire actors who can do theater, like you were saying. You have a theater background in it, because I've been doing stand-up for 16 years. I love being on stage. I like being in the moment, but I'm doing my first theatrical thing in a couple weeks, and I am pretty sure I'm gonna fuck up. I am almost confident that that's going to happen.
Yeah, no, it's I think comedians are kind of first off, you get on stage, and that's a very brave thing to do. I tried comedy for a while, and I realized, I don't need to do this. I mean,
the smartest move,
and there's dying on stage. That's like, it's
right.
No, most comedians, but there's an understanding. It is kind of a character. So I don't think I work with comedians who, became actors and been very successful, and they've all been very good. So I think you have a natural thing for it.
Thanks. Yeah. Who was around when you were getting up, when you were trying to do stand up?
Let's see. I remember George Lopez.
Oh wow.
We were doing a thing together in Chicago.
Zanies?
It was no, it was a TV special live at the Improv. I was hosting it, and but it was during the time when they were just beginning to use comedians, in their stories and for the sitcoms,
right.
Yeah.
There were a lot of guys who kind of but I was a single dad, and so hanging out in theaters, and in LA we'd you'd go, you get your 5 minutes on stage, so you'd run over to, Igby's and you do your 5 minutes, and then you go down to Variety Arts, or, you run around trying to work that material up. But I was always away from home. So I just knew that I really, and I'm like, okay, I'm already, acting. I don't really need to, I think you got to really want it.
Yeah.
And I didn't need it that way. So, but I ran into a lady who said, I saw you do comedy years ago. She said, you were awful. I was waiting for this compliment, and she said, oh yeah, you were so bad.
Yeah.
There you go.
My favorite is those kind of audience members who will come up, like even the people who try to compliment you but do the backhand thing. Like anytime there's a table full of older women, I know one. Like I've had one of them come up. One time I was doing this theater in Delaware, and this one woman came up and went, "I thought you were very funny, but they didn't laugh once." And I was like, "Thank you. I think I don't know how to take that. It's an odd thing to say to me randomly."
I was doing this TV show called Wild Palms that Jim Belushi was starring in. It was a great cast.
Oh, nice.
And Oliver Stone was one of the producers of. It was a I don't know, 6 or 7 part miniseries. But I was talking to Jim, and the guy came up and asked for his autograph, and he wouldn't sign it. And I said, well, why didn't you sign his autograph? He says, they hate you. And I said, really? I said, what do you mean? He said, give him 5 minutes. And he's right. They will come up and say, oh my God, Ernie, I love you. You're my favorite actor. 5 minutes later, like, but you put a lot of weight on, huh? I saw that last thing you did. It wasn't very good. And what happened? Aren't you working anymore? Because, so all that other side of it comes in. At first it's all this flattery, and then this is what I really think of you comes out.
Right. Did you learn that kind of young though, like not to fall in love with the audience and just kind of do your, like, no matter what they say? Because it's got to be interesting to have that wave of like reading press about yourself, when all this shit's going good, and then, not taking it in if anybody writes something bad.
Yeah, no, I try not to. But if you don't want to believe the bad stuff, then you really can't believe the good stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's really no value in it, even though it's very tempting to look. I was doing the series Oz, and when they first came out with the internet, and they had a website, and people would make comments, and I thought, wow, I wonder what they think of my character, the warden. And I started reading. I was like, the warden looked like he has a stick stuck up his ass. All these awful comments, and I went, oh, okay, I can't. So I really don't want to know what you think of me. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'd rather not hear it. So
yeah, it's for the best. Yeah. And I know Oz was cool too, man. I loved when you were the warden on Oz, but that was the first time you also worked with your son, right?
Yeah. Well, no, we did a movie called Buddy. We did a couple of movies together when he was really into acting, and then once he got married, he got into sort of a corporate thing, but
I thought you were going to say he got a job driving for Greyhound.
It's right. Yeah. Well, when we got married, I knew that, my wife has been amazing because she understands the whole thing, but not many women can understand this business that we're in. I mean, it really takes a lot of dedication, and I knew that, okay, this is going to be different.
Right.
But it was fun working with him. In fact, I just did Tom Fontana, who was the creator, executive producer on it. He has a show now called City on a Hill with Kevin Bacon and Eldest. What is the Eldest last name? But it's a great show.
Yeah.
And I just got back from New York doing a couple episodes of that. But it was great sort of being back in contact with the old gang. Jorge Zamacona, who was one of the writers, producers on Oz. So it was great seeing them again and reconnecting.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like because you were the warden in the Oz thing, and then your son was an inmate, basically.
Yeah.
So I thought that had to be a cool dynamic to play off of with a family member, especially your own kid.
Yeah, it was very cool. Even though I think we had a scene together. and I blew one of the lines, which was no big deal.
Right.
But he was shocked. It was like, he was, you know, he just could not believe that I blew the line. It was such a, the way he looked at me was different after that. I was like, oh my God, and I'm like,
holy shit,
it's no big deal. We just, that's what we do many takes. But to him, it was like, Dad, my dad. So,
Hello, Darkness, my old friend starts playing in the background. The scene slows down. The camera guy's doing the zoom out, zoom in thing, and you're like, "What's going on? Stop!"
Right?
It's not a big deal. That's so great.
But he still does some producing, and I think he had a little movie he was acting in, so he still does some stuff. But
that's cool.
So
yeah. It's got to be weird. It's got to be weird for I mean, I don't have any kids as far as I know. Thank God, I don't know, but like there's, it's gotta be weird when you're like in the entertainment world and your son decides to go from the entertainment world to like when you said he was in a corporate thing, I was like, is that a hint of disappointment I hear?
Well,
it's like, and he got himself a job.
Yeah, it's you assume that because like I said, I always want to set an example and this is what I do, and I would never encourage anybody to do this business because it's I've been very blessed, but there's no guarantee that anybody else will. But out of 4 sons, I thought at least one would want to follow my footsteps, and he's the only one. The others, the younger 2, just is no way. I mean, they're no interest at all.
Right.
They kind of hate it when we're in public because when people sort of crowd around and come up. They'll say, I'll say, let's go to the beach. And they'll go, nah, it's going to be a lot of people out there, and I don't want to, people aren't very kind to the, your kids. They'll sort of crowd you and want you to meet their kids and then push your kids aside. And so my kids is like, nah, I don't want to go through that. I don't want to, it's not fun. So.
They basically become the Ernie Hudson entourage. Where they're just like,
they're the ones being asked to take photos. They're like, come on. They specifically put their finger in the lens. Like, here you go, ma'am. Enjoy your day.
I think my wife, not glad that it was COVID, but she didn't have to take photos anymore. It's like, nope, I can't. We take up, nope, I don't. Stay 6 feet the hell away from me. I'm not, it's like now it's okay to say no.
Right.
But when we did the second Ghostbusters, we shot at the Statue of Liberty. And I really wanted my kids to go see the Statue of Liberty. So they came to New York. And we got on the boat and some guy recognized me and he said, Ernie Hudson. And he ran through the boat yelling, Ernie Hudson, the guy from Ghostbusters. And all these people crowded in. Wow. And so the whole time I was just surrounded by people who had just got there from Mississippi or God knows where else, being their family. So we finally docked and the guy ran off the boat and ran through and yelled. And I never was able to leave the dock. I mean, I was so... Their mom took them to the Statue of Liberty. I couldn't even do that with them.
Wow.
It's sometimes you can go and nobody notices, and there are days that people. It's difficult. So
on the days when nobody notices, are you like, what the fuck? Like, come on. Like,
it's kind of sort of, but I kind of don't sort of expect that, but I think. People apologize because they don't know my name or something. I'm like, no, it's okay. I don't really know yours either, so we're good.
What a great response!
It's sort of weird because you can't. Some people think you're flattered by it, but you really can't buy coffee with it. You know what I mean? It really doesn't do anything. It takes up a lot of time.
Right.
But I don't hate it, but I don't really enjoy it either. So
sure.
It must be interesting, the dynamic when you must get like that look, like the I know, but I'm not sure, but it might be.
Yeah. Well, you can't make eye contact. Once you make eye contact, so you don't look at anybody. You look around, but once you make eye contact, then
I always felt like that's why guys like Richard Belzer or Jack Nicholson wore sunglasses all the time, because then you never knew where they were. I'm like, that's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or they were just coked out of their minds. I don't know which one.
Yeah. I'm a little bit of both, you know. And I have friends who are very successful, but they kind of fear in a strange way going out. And that's, to me, that would be like the ultimate, you know, I mean, to do this work and then you can't go out in public. I mean, that's kind of weird too. So
yeah. I know. I read every now and again about that kind of stuff where there's people who just became totally insular, and I'm like, what? That's the polar opposite of why you probably got into this business. But yeah, what it turned them into. So I'm excited. You've got there's the new Ghostbusters coming out, which I think the trailer looks great, and I'm glad they haven't like overdone it. You know what I mean? Like, there's not like a million. It's just the one, and it grabs you right away. I'm excited, man, because I was really like kind of worried when they said they were gonna do something, and I was like, oh man, this could go either way, but it looks good. Are you excited about it?
I'm really excited about it. My youngest son, the watchmaker I was talking about, he his birthday, Jason Reitman, they did a special screening for me and him, and I love it. I think he did an amazing job.
Nice.
And I was really happy to because sometimes, you know, no matter what I do, I'm going to try to, you know, promote it because that's kind of part of the job.
Sure.
But it's nice to be able to say it and mean it, you know. I think it's a great film. The new cast is amazing. And I really felt, because fans have been asking me for almost 40 years, when's the new Ghostbusters? And I think they'll really like this one. The one that Paul Feig did, and no disrespect to him, but I just thought it wasn't Ghostbusters the way, you know, it didn't follow the first two movies, and this one is in that same, you know, that same universe. So and even just from the trailer, you can tell it feels the same. It's got, I don't know how they did it, but it's got the same kind of feel to it, you know, and the excitement level is there too. Like, my friends and I are just super fucking pumped to go see it. Yeah, well, I was happy when I got the call that they were doing it, and Jason, you know, Jason Reitman, who was 6 years old, I think, when he did the first movie.
Wow.
So he's kind of always been around, and then sort of established himself as a director on his own right. But the fact that he was going to be directing and producing with his dad, Ivan, who did the first, you know, couple of movies, I was really excited about that because I really like Jason. I think he's really talented.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I just think he's really amazing. I mean, I really, yeah.
That's awesome. Man, the cast seems great too. One of the kids from Stranger Things is in it, Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a blast too. And do you like when they do that kind of, like you said, the Stranger Things did kind of an homage to it, but I feel like a lot of the 80s stuff is kind of working its way back into mainstream. Is that cool? Or are you like, God, no more 80s?
Yeah,
like,
no.
I lived through it. I'm done.
Yeah, no, you know,
no,
it doesn't bother me. I think it's, you know, I sort of understood those movies. I mean, a lot of stuff now is very hard for me to sort of connect to, you know. I mean, some really great stuff out there, but it's kind of hard to sort of find it for me.
Yeah.
And I just thought the 80s was a great time, especially for movies, you know.
Yes.
So I'm you know, I never got tired of it. People say, "Don't you hate the Ghostbusters song? You must have heard it a million times." And I'm like, not really. It's cool, you know.
I'm so happy to hear you say that, because I threw up a story on Instagram to share, you know, the whole thing or whatever, what was going on, and I was like, "Oh, do I do it?" I was like, is he gonna see it and be like, "I'm bailing. I'm not coming. I'm not doing this." But that makes me happy.
We were legitimately singing it before you got here, Ernie.
Oh.
I couldn't stop all day. It's been in my head, and I was just like, before you came on, I was like, no, I won't do it now. I won't do it injustice, but it's not bad. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Well, sometimes when I'm doing another show that has nothing to do with Ghostbusters, because I'm in it, they'll want to throw something in. They did it in LA's Finest. They did it in Family Business. Throw something in that, you know, and so in Family Business, there's a line where the guy says, "What's the matter? Are you afraid of ghosts?" Meaning afraid of this thing happening. And I say, "I ain't afraid of no ghosts." You know, it's just it gets How I Met Your Mother.
No,
you remember the guy is on the street, and I come up and say I want to use your phone, and he says, "Who are you going to
Who you
call?"
gonna
So
I remember that episode.
so yeah, it gets a little weird sometimes, but it's all good.
Yeah. Well, listen, I got 2 more questions for you. I want to just thank you for coming on too, but I got 2 more left. We ask every guest these questions, so I'd love to get your take on it. First one is, if you can go back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice that would help you today, what would it be?
I think this is going to be kind of weird, but I think don't be afraid to love what you love. I think when I was younger, it was always I know that I like this thing, but my friends didn't think it was cool, or I didn't think I should like it, or it took me a while to just go, no, this is what I want, this is what I like, and it has nothing to do with anybody else. It took me a long time to really appreciate my life, because I always felt like I should do better or make it better or do something to trust myself more, as opposed to looking for approval for
Beautiful.
someone.
And the last question is, if what had to end in your life for you to wind up where you are now? And it could be good or bad, and it doesn't have to be career wise.
Well, what had to end in my life? I think just for me, it was just beating myself up that I wasn't doing this great thing, in particular writing. You know what I mean? I just for years I just I don't know why it's just always been there. I had to just let that go and just go, you know what, maybe that's apparently not going to happen because I'm not doing it. So yeah, just judging myself so harshly that I mean, I've always liked myself, but I always felt like, I should, I don't know, should be doing more. And I see people who do, I mean, amazing things. Tom Fontana would write all the shows and do, I mean, all this stuff. Like, how do you find time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not feeling like I'm sort of, underachiever or something.
Right.
So just to accept me for where I am and just go, I'm a little bit lazy. It's okay.
Hey, man, I love that message. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on, man. It was a blast to get to talk to you and get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, it was great talking to you guys too. Thanks for inviting me. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks,
Such
man.
a
Appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Thanks so much.
Right, take care.
Dystopia tonight.